Hello and welcome to Interactive Music Theory Level 1. My name is Kelvin Cummings and this is lesson 4 out of 14. You will find that in the description just down below that we do have the book that matches up to all of this. We've got the extension puzzle that matches up to all of the puzzles there at the end, as well as the notes. If you can't quite see the stuff on the screen there clearly enough, you'll be able to have a look at that. While you're there, make sure that you subscribe and click that notification button so you don't miss out on any future content. Alright, let's get underway with today's lesson. So, first of all, in lesson 4, we're going to be having a look at what a grand stave is all about. Now, in the previous lessons, we've talked about what a treble clef is, we've talked about what a bass clef is, and the fact that there are a higher and a lower section. We're going to have a look at the grand stave and see how that kind of matches up to what we were working with before. We're going to have a look at how all of that relates to the piano or the keyboard as well. We're going to consolidate, as in bring all of our information together of our knowledge of pitch notation and be able to make sure that we've got all of that right. We're going to differentiate the pitches as higher or lower sorts of sounds, so we're going to do that through a listening based test, so an oral listening test. We're going to consolidate your knowledge of dynamic notation. Now, dynamics, we've already discussed things of, telling us how loud to play a piece of music or how soft to play a piece of music, and if there's some transition in between. So there's certain words and symbols for that. So we're just going to lock that in. I'm going to have a look at some Italian terms here which are going to help you in regards to tempo or speed. And we're going to learn about semibreve rests and minim rests. All of this information will be on page 9, 11, 32 and 39 of your booklets. The order we're going to do that is we're going to have a look at the treble clef notes first, we'll have a look at the bass notes after, we're going to have a look at the grand stave to be able to figure out what's up with that. Piano keyboard, we'll have a look at that and be able to get ourselves comfortable with what it looks like. Semibreve rests, we'll have a look at that. Minim rests, we'll have that listening test there with being able to hear whether it's higher or lower notes. I'll talk about tempo, which is the speed of music that we'll be looking in regards to those Italian terms. There's a little bit of a game of hangman that will be available to you, and we just need to figure out exactly how we're going to do that. But it's just reinforcing the knowledge that we've got. And then we've got this extension puzzle here right there at the end of this lesson. Right, knowing all of that, let's revise. Now, when we were talking about these previously on a treble clef, which is the one which looks like that, starting off from that line there, coming to the middle line, down to the bottom there. We're talking about the notes which are on the higher end of the scale. So we had, if it happened to be on a space, it was an F, an A, a C, and an E. These here, you should really be getting to the point there from the first few videos where you're starting to memorize this sort of stuff. It's going to make life a lot easier. Remember that on the lines, however, we had a wee acronym. So every good boy deserves fruit. Okay, so E, G, it's a B, D deserves, and F fruit. Okay, so knowing that, we could quite easily place these up here. So for that C there, we know that's on the ledger line down below, so that's locked in. We've got that one nice and safe. Where's one of our G's? Well, if we have a look at what we've got here, that second line from the bottom. Now remember, a little bit of a gap below, a little bit of a gap above, and it's definitely on the line. So make sure that you got that in this right place. We've got this B here, which we know is on that middle line there. I'll try that again. Like so. It's the same again. Space above, space below. Make sure it's definitely on the line. We've got an F, where we could choose a couple here. We could go that one, or that one. So I'm going to put both of them in. I'm going to put one in the space. Notice how it's touching the bottom line and the top line, but it's not necessarily going over. And then we've got this one here, which is on that top line there as well. So I'm going to count that too. We've got this E. Now we've got one here, and we've got one here. So I'm going to pop both of those in, just for the sake of this. So we've got an E here, and we've got an E in that space. We've got a D note, which is just before an E. Now because I know that it's just before an E, I'm going to pop this one in here as well, because I know that that's just before an E here, so we're generally going from a line to a space, a line to a space all the way through. Is there an A on this one here? Yeah, we've got that one, which is on the second space from the bottom, so I'm going to pop that in here. And then we do have another C. Now I've already got that one, so I'm going to pop in a high C here, which is in that second space here. So that's, I'll just write that one a little bit better. And the top line there. Alright, so there's our treble clef notes. This is all revision from lesson 1, or 2, or 3. And this one here, bass clef notes, was something that we were looking at last time. And we've got the same sort of mission available to us here. Now, in this one, we had, if it happened to be on the space of this one, on this bass clef, and these are the lower notes, we had A, all, C, cows, E, eat, and that top space there, grass. So all cows eat grass is the acronym that kind of goes with that one. And if they happen to be on the lines of this bass clef, these lower notes, draw that in, top of the line, about halfway through there. Then we had G, B, D, F, and that one there, I'm just going to extend it a little bit long, A. So good, boys, do, fine, always. And I put the challenge out to you there on YouTube when I posted the last video to see if you could find another acronym. If the other acronym works for you, cool. But yeah, good, boys, do, fine, always is one that you can use if it doesn't make sense. Right, so let's have a look. So C, sorted, done, don't need it. Let's go to G. Are any of these a G? Well, we've got one which is on that line there. We've also got one which is on that top space, so I'm going to pop both in for the sake of this. We've got B. Now, we could go the note which is just below that space of C, because we know that B comes before C, so it's down one space, or down one slot there. We could potentially pop it up on the top here as well, because I know that it's just above an A as well. We've got an F on this one here. Now let's have a look at F. That's on the second line from the top. Boom. We've got an F would also be just before a G note there as well. So if that's on the line, and I wanted this one to be shown here, that would be on the space just before it. So that's another way for us to be able to recognize. As long as you get one note, you can count up the lines and spaces, or down lines and spaces, to be able to get yourself there. We've got an E, which eat, it's on that second space there. Could also be down there if we wanted to. We've got a D, which is one down again, and if I wanted to, again, I could keep going down here as well, just kind of extending on this a little bit, I guess. And then we've got A. Let's have a look. A could be in that bottom space here, or we could have it on the top line here. Okay, so we've got a few options available to us with these lower notes, which tend to be played on the left hand there with our piano. Alright, so let's carry on. The grand stave. All of this work here is on page 9 of those work booklets in the description down below, so make sure that you're matching this up to those. So, with a grand stave, that is used by piano players or any keyboard-based instrument which requires two hands. Now, the reason why we've got it with two hands is because our right hand is playing all the treble clef stuff, our left hand is playing all the bass clef stuff. So the two staves or staffs are joined by a brace on the left-hand side. You notice that we've got one here. Now, that middle C could be written on the treble clef with that little line underneath there, that ledger line, or it could be on the bass clef there with that ledger line up there. And what you'll notice is that it's either down one space or up one space, depending on which of those clefs that you happen to be on. So, even though it looks different, it is exactly the same note. Okay, that is a middle C. So if I went to my keyboard, oh, where are we? Got him. If I went to my keyboard here, you'd be able to spot that on here, my middle C, or the one with the dot well, this one here, sorry, you can't quite see it too well on the camera. We got that one there all ready to go. Okay, so knowing that, let's carry on. What I need you to do on page 9 is you're needing to have a go at drawing that middle C. Now, take a look at the distance that we've got within these staves here. You're pretty much just creating another little line, and try to keep it straight, if at all possible. So there we go, nice straight line, and there goes your dot. Boom. Drawing middle C for the treble stave, done. And it's about the same sort of distance as what all these other lines are. If I was drawing it on a bass clef this time, so bass clef, that was a treble, this is a bass clef, just doing exactly the same, except the line is an equal distance up there and above the bass clef this time. Now, as I said, with the piano that we had there before, so right hand being these ones over here, left hand being all the lower notes, use that knowledge in here when you're playing the middle C for the right hand. Well, that's right hand's all your treble stuff. So that's exactly the same as what we did there before. If we're doing it for the left hand, that's all your bass clef stuff, which is over here. I'll make that a little bit neater, so like so. Okay, so treble clef, right hand, bass clef, left hand, and middle C is either on the ledge line just beneath or just above, depending on which of those you are working with. So let's fill in the gaps. With this here, this is a whole pile of notes which are ascending one by one, which match up to either the notes on the bass clef or the notes which happen to be on the treble clef here from that D. Okay, so let's have a quick go. Now, let's do the notes first. So if that one's on the line there, this one here is going to be on the space. If that one's on the line, this one here is going to be in the space just above. It's gone to the line, gone to the space. This one here, that's right, it's going to go on the line. Space, line, so that's our middle C. Then we've gone to the D just above it. E is going to be on the line. F is on the space. G on the line. We've got an A here on the space there, then we've got the B, and then we've got the C. Okay, so we've been able to work our way, systematically working through those notes there, so they're logically stepping up. So, knowing that, we've already been given the basics here. So what comes after D in the alphabet? Well, we know it's going to be E. After E, this note here is going to be an F. This note here is going to be a G. And that's as far up in the alphabet as we go. So at this point here, we jump into our new octave, which is going to be a new set of A for that one. That one there on that line there is a B. I already know that. And C. Right. Same rule applies, except this time here we're going backwards. So we're going down, so we're going backwards in those notes. So there goes my B note. Just before that is an A. And because we've reached that A note there, the next note's going to be the G, but it's a G which is an octave down. Like so. For the letter G, or pitch G, is an F. We've got an E. This one here is a D. And then that last one there is a C. So what we've been able to do here is effectively play two octaves. So we're going from C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. There's our middle C. And now we've gone from middle C to D, E, F, G, A, B, C, which would sound like this. Oh, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Actually, I'm going to push this. So that's our middle C, and then we go on, carrying on with those high notes there too. Okay, right, all of that information there on page 9, and before we go too far, we'll probably better answer this last question. What is the symbol to the left hand side of the two staves called? That there is a brace, which is connecting these two parts here together. So this here is what is considered to be a grand stave. Okay, so that's a big lesson from this particular part. Okay, so let's have a quick go with it. So just kind of connects on. Got you a couple of these to trace through first, and then I want you to put yours in. Notice how it kind of curves in, comes back to a point at about that halfway, and then comes back in. That one there is probably the one that I prefer the most out of those ones there. So, similar sort of concept. Often when you get to a piano or a keyboard and things, they won't have the notes written out. Sometimes you will, like especially if you're starting to learn for the first time, but it doesn't always happen that way. So what we've got here is a collection of different notes which are scattered all the way through. Let's quickly identify a whole pile of them. We can put them anywhere. So let's just work our way through here. Now that's C. When we've got a keyboard, what you'll find is that, in fact I don't think we can drag these, no we can't. What you'll find is that this pattern here is exactly the same as this pattern over here and here, because you'll have 2 black keys, a little bit of a gap, 3 black keys, a bit of a gap, and then that repeats itself all the way through the keyboard. So to the left of these 2 black keys will always be a C note, always. So here we go, you'll notice that those 2 black keys is up here, to the left of that is a C. So that means this is going to be a C, and this is going to be a C. Alright, so I'll get that one out of the mix. And looks like we've got another C somewhere. No, we do not. Okay, so here we go, we've got all of those ones in place. Let's have a quick look at where the, let's go an E note. Now an E is just to the right hand side of the 2 black keys. So each time we come across an E note, that's going to be the 2 black keys just to the right, it's an E, that's an E, and we've got the 2 black keys here, that's going to be an E there as well. Now the reality is in between obviously you got a D note, because just as much as your notes are cruising up there as well, so you got A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C and so on, we've got the same with this. So that means that all of the D notes are covered within this here already. So D is done, E is done there, sweet. Alright, so next up, kind of logical, let's just keep on going through. So F. Now when we've got an F note, notice how we've got the 3 black keys this time around. It's just the one which is to the left hand side of that. So 3 black keys, white key to the left, that is an F. 3 black keys, white key to the left, there is my F. That one is done for me already. 3 black keys, the white key to the left, there is my F note there ready to go. Okay, so we've done that one there too. All the F notes. Right, moving on. The next key, so go for C, D, E, F, and yet you're already going through the next letter, it's G. Slots in straight after an F, okay? Finding the F's probably just as good as way as any, but if you've got the 3 black keys, it's the white key which is just between the first 2 black keys. But if you can find the F, the G is the next white key that you're going to be coming across anyway, so that'll make your life a bit easier. Okay, so let's carry on. After that, we've got 2 sets of keys which are remaining. So we've got an A key to put in, and we've got a B key to put in. So let's have a quick look here to the, let's go to this next one here. So straight after G, we're going to be starting off our new alphabet, so that's going to be an A, which comes straight after a G every single time. But when you've got these 3 black keys all joined together, just to the right hand side of that is your B note there. Okay, so 3 black keys, there's your B. 3 black keys to the right, there's your B. 3 black keys, there's the B straight to the right. 3 black keys, here is the B here. Okay, so that's what we're looking for in regards to being able to identify these different notes. Okay, figuring out where your say middle C is, just to the left of the 2 black keys there, or the F from the keys there, that's going to make your life a lot easier, especially if you're trying to find the ones on the music theory, you're going to be able to match it up to the piano or the keyboard. So what note is always to the left of the two black keys? Well, let's have a look. Two black keys, that one there, two black keys, one there, two black keys there. So our answer is C. Okay, nice and simple. And what is the note to the right of the three black keys? Well, 1, 2, 3 black keys. Just to the right is B there. Just to the right is B there. Three black keys. So that one there is a B. So use that as kind of your benchmark to be able to find those two particular keys. The rest of it should become nice and simple. Okay, so this is where on page 11 you need to be kind of thinking ahead, and you've got a couple of things going through your head now. One is, what are these notes? So you're going to need to go back to your notes, your written notes there from previous sessions, but equally, how do they match up to this? So, knowing what we had here in this page here, on this one here on page 11, you need to match that up to the written stuff now. Now that's a middle C, I already know that, and it's already given us this low E. Notice that everything from here down, that there is on the bass clef or left hand. Boom. Which means subsequently, everything over here will be on treble clef. Oops, treble clef, right hand. Okay, if you can't quite see it, it will be in the notes. So, let's work through this one here. That one there, if you went back through your notes, you'll know that that note there is a G. Now, it's a G which is only, slightly above middle C, so let's figure it out. So C, D, E, F, G. So that one, whoops, try that again. That one connects up to there. Make that a little clearer, it goes down there. Alright, so there goes our first one. I'm going to change colours on these just to make it a little bit simpler for you. Let's go this one here. Now, if that's an E on that space, and this is on the line just above, that means that that one's going to be an F. So I know that that's just above that. So if that's an E, then this one's going to be an F straight away. Right, change colour again, just to make it a little bit simpler for us. So that one's on the line, that one's on the space just above it there. If we keep travelling up one of those wee sections there, we're travelling up another note. So that one there now becomes a G, which is that white key there. Let's move to, I'm not quite sure if yellow's going to work, but we'll try it. We've got this one here, that middle line on the treble clef. That one there is a B. We'll notice that it's only a couple of spaces up from that G though. So let's have a quick look out of all of these ones. That was the G that we had here on our right hand. Here's the B that we want. Boom, that one there. Oh, that works. Right, so coming back, let's have a quick wee look at this one. That is on the line. That one was a G, so that one there must be that A note to be able to match up to it. We're almost there. Let's come back to red. So this one here, because it's on the line there, we knew that that was a middle C. That is also a middle C, so we need to have that connected like so. We've got our next note here is sitting on the space just above. So it's above this A, but it's below that C. So in this case, we're looking at a B note, and this is a B just in our left hand or a bass clef. We've got this one here is a, if you have a look back at your notes, is a low C. So we'll travel that one all the way across here. Boom. Okay, so that one's quite a low C there, and we know that we can find a C because there's my two black keys there, and it's a full octave, or it's a full set of notes down from that. So we've got that one in place. We now have a couple to go. So that one there is just above a C. It's in the space, so that is a D, which is here. Last note, it's quite a low note, but we'll get that in place here, is a low A. Now that's below a low C. Notice how you got a line and a space there, so it's going to be 2 keys below. There's my A. So traveling through, boom. Okay, it looks a bit of a shambles. Normally, when we're looking at this, you're basically just playing one note at a time. This here is if we were playing absolutely everything at the same time. But these notes here match up to a particular key down here on your piano. Okay, and that's the big important part to pick up here from page 11. Okay, so let's colour them in. Now let's go for this one here. That note, what would it be? Well, let's think about the saying there. So E, G, B, D, F. Every good, excuse me. Every good boy deserves fruit. So that's a G, C, D, E, F, G. All right. So here goes that note right there. That is that key. Okay. We've got, in this case, it's a bass clef. So it's just a step down from where that middle C is. So that's going to be one back from that middle C. So that'll be a B, which should be this one here. So we'll colour in that. Nice. I should really learn how to colour in within the lines. Then we've got this one here, which is, now we already know that that bass clef is also known as an F clef. That happens to be sitting on that same line. So that is our F. Coming back, so C, B, A, G, F. And we're going to go blue for the sake of this one, just cause. Okay, just like that. Okay, so this one here is an F. That F there. That one there is a B. Oops, just fixed it up. B. That's the B here. And this one here in the red is a G, which is written like so. Okay, all of that there on page 11. Okay, let's move on. So, that's enough about the grand stave and where all the notes are. What we've done up to this point here is we've also talked about notes which have certain lengths. So we've got notes which look like all of these. Color that in a bit more. And that one there which has got 2 of them. Okay, so we've got this one here which goes for 4 beats, called a semibreve. We've got this one here which goes for 2 beats, which is called a minim. We've got this one which is called a crotchet, goes for 1 beat. We've got this one that is called a quaver, which goes for half a beat, and this one here is a semi-quaver, which goes for 1/4 of a beat. Now, like those are the UK terms. I know that America have other terms there which are referred to in the last lesson there as well. So, having a look at this, semi-brief rest, hangs. So this is the rest symbol to be able to fill up the gap with us not necessarily playing. It's going to be just completing the bar for us. Okay, so it rests this particular case on the 4th line, like so. So here's 1, 2, 3, the 4th line, and it's just hanging down below about halfway, and try to keep it as boxy as possible. The semi-brief rests have 4 counts, which are commonly used time signatures. However, it's also called a whole bar rest as well. Just as much as that's called a whole note, this is a whole bar rest for this. Because it can be used pretty much within any time signature to be able to fill that gap. So, and if you're unsure, this information here is on page 32 of your booklets there. So, semi-brief rests there on page 32, and you'll be able to check your notes at the bottom of this description here. Okay? So, let's practice some of these here on page 32. So 1, 2, 3, 4, the 4th line, and we're trying to keep that the square there as square as possible. Notice how I'm trying to keep mine as close to the center as possible on this as well. That's important because it is filling up that entire space, and it's basically saying don't play any notes in these wee gaps here. Okay? So make sure that you've been able to do yourself a few copies of that particular one there. Now, which one of these is semi-brief rests? Well, the rule was fourth line from the bottom, and it's hanging, so it's dropped down, not sitting on top. So this one here, that would work. This one here, that's the third line, won't work. This one here will work, because 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's hanging down below. Same with this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's hanging below, so that one would be a semibreve rest. This one here, 1, 2, 3, well, it's sitting on top of the third one there, so that one's not going to cut it this time around. It's not a semibreve rest. Let's have a look at this one though. 1, 2, 3, 4. This one here, hanging down below, it is this time around, so well done. That one there, miles off, don't even contemplate it. Sitting down beneath it, that's nothing for us. And this last one here, line 2, 3, 4, fourth line up, and it is hanging down there. So these ones here are examples of correctly written semibreve rests. Okay, so make sure that you use that. That's all on page 32. Minim rests. Now remember how I talked about this note here, which equaled 2 beats. This here also equals 2 beats. It is the rest equivalent of that, and it sits on the line this time. Notice that it sits on the middle line, so first, second, third, and it sits on top of that one there. So out of the 5 line, it is on the third line here. Minim rest has, whoops, we just tried it, haven't we? Has 2 counts, and it's commonly used stuff there. So it means that if I ever saw that, I would purposely not play something for 2 beats. Okay? And that's all there on page 32. Right, so let's draw ourselves a few copies of this. Now, unlike the semibreve rest, which went up 4 lines and hung down below, this one here comes in on the third line. So 1, 2, 3. There goes the space there. 1, 2, 3. No, oh, actually, sorry, I'm going to come back here because there's something else you need to be aware of, because most of these are likely going to be 4 beats in the bar, so I'm going to put 2 of them in here. 2 beats for the first half of this bar, 2 beats for the second half of the bar. And notice how I'm trying to have it sit on top of these third lines here, so that covers beat 1 and 2, that covers beat 3 and 4, and so on. Okay, so make sure that you've given yourself an opportunity to do that for all of those there on page 32. Now, let's have a figure out of exactly how we're going to do this. So the concepts that I gave you last time when being able to fill up the bars with particular notes was about filling up a cup of water. So if you've got half a cup of water and you've got another half a cup to fill, then you top it up with that other half cup of water. So in this case here, we've got 4 beats, 4 crotchet length beats that we're wanting to fill up into this particular piece of every single bar or every single measure. Now 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 1. There's a second beat. There's a third beat. And there's our 4th beat. Each of these particular ones here, because they're coloured in crotchet form, each of these takes 1 beat, which fills up that whole bar. It's all done. This minim is taking a beat number 1 and number 2, which means I've got 2 more beats to fill up. Am I going to put a semibreve rest, which is going to fill up 4, or am I going to put a minim rest, which is going to fill up 2? And that's right, I'm going to put a minim rest, which will fit on the third, oops, drop it up a bit more, third, as close as I can anyway. So that third line, and it's sitting on top there. Here goes another minim, and I'm just going to slot this in, so that rest is taking up that third and that 4th beat. Okay, so moving along, we've got another minim here, which is going for 2 beats. So here goes beat 1 and beat 2 of our 4 beats. And we've got 2 more to fill, so we're going to do exactly the same as what we did before. We're going to grab that minim rest, which is on the third line, slide it up a little more, and that's going to take over the second part of that, so 3 and 4. So notice how at the moment, the minim rest is just basically finishing the bar, or the measure. It's completing it there for us. So it's important that we do complete that, otherwise it's an incorrectly written bar. Now, we've got this last bar here, it's got no notes, it's got no rest, no anything. So we need to fill that up with something. So, because we're working with 4 beats in a bar, that means we need to find the rest which is going to be equivalent to that, which is our semibreve rest, which is here, and it hangs, this time here, on the 4th line. Oh, a bit further down. 4th line there from the top. So there we go, which means that this time here, we're playing absolutely nothing for these 4 beats. Okay? Same rule applies. If we've got any of these bars which have got nothing in them, and this one here is one of those, we're going to pop another semibreve rest in here, hanging on the 4th line. Oh, we can do a bit better than that. Oh, attempt to anyway. Which is going to take up that space there. So there goes beat 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm not playing anything in this particular bar or measure. We've got 2 notes here, 2 single length notes. So beat 1 and beat 2 are done. But let's figure out what we can have for beat 3 and 4. Well, knowing that we've got one of these, that minim rest, we'll drop that in place here. That's going to take up that space. Same rule applies here. We've got beat 1 and 2 have been covered with these 2 crotchets. Beat 3 and 4 haven't been touched. So we need to complete that by dropping in another minim rest. These minim rests here go for 2 beats. Make sure we've got it on the right space. And then we've got a semibreve note, which is playing an extra note just for that whole bar. Okay, so there goes our answer this time around, and we should have something which looks like this. Which, yay us, we do. Cool. So well done. That there is on page 32 of your notes. As well as that, there's an opportunity for you to be able to do a little bit of a kind of search and destroy on these particular ones. So how many minim rests do we see? Minim rests are the ones that are sitting on top of that middle line. So this one would be an example. 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 And it looks like the other ones aren't. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 4 minim rests this time around here. Let's have a look at how many are sitting or hanging down this time, which would be on that 4th line from the bottom. We've got one here. Got one here. And we've got one here. Okay, so there goes my 3 semibreve rests there. Okay, all on page 32. Alright, so oral quiz time, oral puzzle time. So what we're going to do here is just on a blank piece of paper somewhere, I want you to write down 1 through to 6, and we're going to be listening into these notes here and figuring out which of these are the highest note, or in some cases I'm going to ask you to specify which is the lowest note out of them. So let's have a quick look here. So for question number 1, I'm sure you got your piece of paper and things ready to go now. Which of these musical notes is the highest? You're going to be writing down A, B, or C. Okay, so let's have a quick look. So number 1, which of these musical notes is the highest? Here goes A. Here goes B. Here goes C. I'm going to play that one more time for you. So I've got to tune that up now, it's as loud as I can. Okay, so one last time, A, B, or C. Which is the highest? Alright, so if you were able to work your way through those different notes, the highest out of those ones there was that B. So, that one there's way down there. So we're, as soon as I've locked in which note happens to be the highest, I'm going to drop that one in. So answer for the first one there, and note B was the highest. So have a look at number 2. Which one of these musical notes is the lowest? So we're looking for the lowest pitch this time around. Here goes A. Okay, we'll play it one more time for you. Now, out of those ones there, the correct answer this time was B again. So let's have a listen to it. Da, da. Well, that one there is definitely lower. La, la. So that note is the one which is the lowest this time. So make sure that we're covering that there. If you got B, correct, well done to you. For number 3, which of these notes is the highest? Let's have a quick look. A. I've got my hunch. Let's see if you're able to grab the right one there as well. So here we go one more time for number 3. Now out of these notes here, the note that will be the highest is A. Da. And then it, like it keep progressing its way down. So the highest note would remain to be that one there. Number 4, which of these notes is the lowest? I think I know what I'm going to choose, but let's have one more play through. So number 4, which of these is the lowest? Alright, and if you chose B, congratulations, you have found the lowest pitch note. So it's definitely lower than that one, it's definitely lower than that one. Okay, so here goes number 5. Which of these musical notes is the highest? I think that one might be a bit easy, but we'll give it one more shot. So which of these musical notes is the highest? If you chose C, well done, you're in the right way. Okay, number 6, the last one that we're going to test our hearing ability or our oral listening skills is which of these musical notes is the lowest. So let's try this one. One last time. And your correct answer this time round, if you have a think about how it's progressing downwards, C this time. It's going to be your lowest note. So well done. If you got 6 out of 6, yay, let us know in the comments down below. If you didn't, then just have a think. Well, how did that match up? So just rewind and have a wee test to see why it did or did not work that way. But we're going to move on to page 39 within your workbooklets now. This one here is going to be focusing in on the speed of music. Now, speed of music for us, with these Italian terms, is relating to tempo. Okay, now it's a word that gets thrown about quite a bit. So the international language for it is Italian for all of the different terms that we're going to cover. But it is all to do with the speed of music. So we've got presto, which is very fast, allegro, which is fast and lively sort of speed, andante, which is an easy walking sort of pace. So it's, you know, if you're just kind of walking casually down the street, around about that sort of tempo. Moderato, or moderate speed. So there's not too much difference between those depending on the piece of music. Or adagio, which is slowly. Okay, so those are going to be some terms that are going to be really important for you in this task. So let's have a quick look and see which of these is going to make sense for us this particular time around. So you'll notice that in this case here we've got them all kind of jotted about. So knowing what we have here with these ones, they do match up. And that first one, I'll see if I can. No, I have to write them in. Okay, so this first one does start with A, so there goes your first clue. Can you figure out which one it is? That's right. Allegro. I'll just pop that in there. So have you got that one there? Perfect. This one here, probably not as clear as the first one there, but you should still be able to get it. Starts with M anyway. Moderato. Okay, I'm pretty sure I got the spelling right on that one there. Yeah, cool. Okay, so that one there. This one here is one of these ones here, so we've already done that one. We've already done Allegro, so yeah, you're starting to run out of options here. Starts with A. Have you figured it out? There we go, adagio, which means slowly. Cool. Which brings us down to a couple more. So andante, which, as I said over here, is that casual walking space. And this last one here, just by process of elimination, you should be able to have this. When I was young, and even though I wasn't part of an Italian community and things, I always knew this word because it was just another word for going fast. You know, presto. Okay, so adagio, moderato, adagio, andante, and presto. So these words here are the ones that we are going to be working through here on page 39. Now, let's test how good your knowledge is on that. So, based on this, well, we've got some letters here. Let's go an A. Okay, sweet. So out of those terms there, and a wee bit of a hint, it is to do with the words that we've pretty much just covered. So A, I've got my hunch, let's go. Yeah. Now if you look back to that same page there, you'll notice that if we dropped in a D here, that's going to be able to make things a lot easier. A G, and to finish off this word, adagio. Yay. All right, let's go this one here. Now this one here is going to be a different sort of term. We'll go two more of these little hangmans here to see how we go. Let's drop in, for the sake of this, an E. Okay, so we've got a few things here. Now just a wee hint, this one here is not going to be a tempo-based word because we've got two parts to this, but it is something that we've covered in this lesson. Okay, so let's see if we can figure it out. So, for the sake of this, I'm going to go the letter R. And go L. I think that's probably going to make it a lot easier for some. It's like Wheel of Fortune, except without all the fortune. So, we've got R, L, L. So, if you were looking at the start of the lesson when we started talking about the grand stave, what was happening in the right hand side? We had a treble, clef. Alright. Let's go one last one here. Now, let's go, I'll choose a random letter there. There is an I there, looks like. We haven't used a U, so let's pop that up. Whoa, it's not going to work for us. Let's go an S. Let's go, I don't know, we'll just choose some random letters here for the sake of this. M. We've got a C. Oh, we've got more to this. Now, this one is talking about the length of a particular type of note. So I think you probably got this one. If you popped in that there, semi, goes for 4 beats. Breve, okay? Right, often I have people within my classes there going, well, what does it look like once it's actually died there? Well, we've had a few goes to be able to get it correct, so let's quickly figure out what happens here. It's all very dark and gloomy, and yeah, I mean the idea is that you obviously want to try to be able to beat the game. Alright, so the last thing I kind of want to reiterate is that all of these puzzles within that puzzle box, which is again downloadable down below, all relate to things that have been covered within this lesson here, except in a couple of cases well, actually not today. I think we've pretty much covered it. But we will be coming across some of these puzzles here where we'll be putting you on the back foot there, okay? But as I said, thank you very much for coming to this interactive music theory level 1 course. This was lesson 4 out of 14 lessons. If you're working your way through the workbook down below or the puzzle booklet or reading through the notes there, thank you very much. Make sure that you've subscribed, tick the notification bell so that we're able to pass on more information to you as time goes on. But otherwise, look forward to catching up with you for lesson 5 next time. See ya, bye.